Okay, today we're in the studio to paint the farm track. Really easy. You'll love it. Come and join us. Today we're going to do the country lane, and I'm just going to quickly sketch out where things are going to go. And this doesn't have to be very dark. You can make light images here of where things are going to go. I'm going to do it in green. So, touch of green. Let's take a touch of that white so it's a light colour. I'm doing it with a thin brush to start with. And I want my view to be of the field in the background to go up at an angle, a little bit more water there, to go up at an angle like that. I'm going to have a country road coming in here, I think. Around about there, and yeah, it gets bigger here, so let's just make it come around there. Now if you're looking at perspective, you'd start the lane with a very small top, bring it around, so I'm going to make it wider at the bottom and smaller as it goes into the distance, as you see here. Now let's put some trees in. Trees are going to go into the right hand corner here. You don't have to be exact. I'm doing a very rough outline of where the trees will go. I want it to be across the top and then in the right hand corner. I'm putting two trunks here that will go into this side field around the edge of the track. Alright, let's put some trees and bushes on the left hand side to balance the image out, our picture out. Roughly sketch in the top of this tree on the left, and I'm going to give myself a border for the left field as well, which comes down to the edge of the track, which is a slightly different shape. It goes to down to the road here. I think I'm going to change direction of my track. I think I'm going to make it go off into a little S-bend like that. It still disappears off into the distance, but now I'm going to make it go to the left. It gives a little bit more interest to this picture. So, okay, let's finish these trees. Trunks on the left-hand side, another trunk coming down at an angle, and the tree foliage above it. Small tree, this one. And I think I'm happy with that. Dark enough. And this tree on the right, the foliage actually covers the top of the canvas. It's bending over the road to give shadow to the road. So I'm just going to fill in a very rough edge there. And then we will cover these lines, so it doesn't matter how dark you go, we'll still cover them. Right, let's move on to the background. I'm going to take a big brush so that we can cover more space, and I want to make it a turquoisey blue sky, so let's take some blue, add it to the green, and make it lighter with a lot of white. So add quite a bit of white to make it a lot lighter. You can always make it darker as we go through. Let's put this on the canvas. Okay, fill the top of the canvas in. I'm being rough with my strokes, and I'm covering over the green lines of the tree, as you can see here. That doesn't matter. Where the blue goes will be where the sky shows through the tree. We'll paint around this. So cover in as much as you can. You will remember that there's tree going to go across the top. Don't worry about that. And you can see as I paint, I'm painting over the edges of my rough sketchy tree lines, because we'll break the leaves into the sky. Paint the top, paint the sides, don't forget that. And I'm using choppy movements because it's not meant to be precise. The sky's not meant to be precise. Right, now I want to change the colour up a bit. Put almost a sunset kind of look, a turquoise and purple. So I'm adding a bit of red to my blue, and I think a little bit more blue and probably some purple in there. So that is purple. Let's add this beautiful mauvey colour in. I'm going to make hills with that mauvey colour. Hills, remember, are not uniform. They're jagged, they don't go in the same direction, they have funny little bits across the top. With the extra purple, I'm going to blend it into the sky as well. And not being precise with my purple, so I've just gone and used those choppy movements again over the sky, and I'm going to blend some more of the mountain into the right hand side again. You can see it's not an even skyline on this mountain, and I'm going to take it a bit higher into the tree level, into the tree where the tree goes, because the tree is going to cover over the edge of that mountain. Take a bit of purple into the sky as well. That's more blue. Let's see where this goes. That makes it darker across the top, so that where we're putting our foliage will be very different from the blue sky above. And once again, not precise, short choppy movements. Blending is not necessary at this stage. We'll be covering a lot of this over with some foliage, so use the movement of the brush to give you some texture in your sky. This whole image, this whole painting is about the texture as well. It's those choppy movements that make the picture. Right, I'm going to add some more depth now because we're building the picture up. So let's make our hills a little darker. I'm going to make them a lot darker with some more purple, direct purple. And I'm putting them back over the dark of the sky and blending them into the right and to the left. We're losing those in the distance, so you'll see that they blend. See how choppy these hills are, and they blend perfectly into the sky. Don't be precise. I'm adding some green just for some interest. The hills aren't all purple, they've got a bit of green to them, and there's so many colours going to blend into this picture that you do not have to be precise about your colours. And if you don't mix definite colours in your palette, you can use these colours to blend as you go. I'm going to block in this field at the back. Give me an idea of where the field goes at the back. A block of plain yellow and white, with a touch of that green, light green. So we're making a very light lime colour. Remember, all the colours in the distance are a lot lighter than the colours in the foreground. So let's block that back field in. Go around the sides. Don't forget the sides of your canvas. Now I'm going to leave the right-hand side of this back field a lighter colour. So it kind of indicates that there could be sun shining on that side of the canvas, this right-hand side here. Right, let's start filling in that left field, and for that I'm going to mix a mixture of the green and the yellow, which gives me a light lime colour. And when you put this on the canvas, because it's not mixed on the brush, it gives you variations, streaky variations on the left-hand side. When you paint as well, don't be particular about edges. I'm going over the edges too. And here's a touch of black in this paint here, so I've got a little bit more variation in the grass colour, and I'm going to block the whole side, the whole left-hand side, including the side of the canvas. If you don't want to have to frame this canvas, then painting around the edges makes it possible to leave it unframed. Just hang it on the wall when you're finished. Right, the right-hand side. Let's have a look at this side here. Blending the colours on the brush and on the canvas, adding a little bit of water here and there to just give me some liquidity in the colours, but otherwise not being precise, not being precious about putting the colours together. Whatever's on your paintbrush, put that back onto the canvas. This is a build-up of colours. It's an impressionist picture. We're not being precise with any of the details. We're just building colour at this stage. Blocking in, building colour. There are no definite details on anything. The top edge of this field is going to be quite rough. Let's add more colour as we go. I'm going to add some more green. And yeah, as we build the colour up, we'll add more to this. You can see it's quite transparent at the moment, but it will get darker as we build up. And I want this right hand feel, or the right hand hill, to be much more in the foreground than any of the others. So I'm going to bring it forward with colour, which makes the whole focus of the painting, the focus of your eye, move more to the left. So now I'd like to mix a peachy, beachy kind of colour, something that we can use for the farm track, which is a mix of red, yellow, and a lot of white. This gives you quite a nice peachy colour. So I'm going to add quite a bit of white there. Let's see what that's like. I'm not mixing it too well. Let's see what it's like on the actual canvas. There, it's looking pretty good. You see, because it's not mixed too well, the different colours that I've put onto the brush are popping up on the canvas. So it's as you're painting on the canvas, the colours are changing. Not just changing, they're blending because there's so many different colours all put together. Some lighter, some darker. Towards the edge, I'm going over the edge of the fields, so I'm melding the two colours of the road and the field together. And towards the edges of the road, I'm adding more of a darker colour, more for the ruts of the road. So the centre of the road, you can see, is still a bit light. The sides of the road are a bit darker. Doesn't really matter where you put the colour though, as long as you fill the whole area in with your blocked colours. And I think towards the back here, we're going to make it slightly lighter. So remember, lighter colours in the distance and heavier colours in the front make it look like the back of the painting is going towards the distance. It's a perspective thing. So you see here, we've got great perspective in the way that we've blended the colours. Light, dark. Light towards the back, dark to the front. Okay. I think I'm going to make this back section a little bit lighter by adding more white, and this area here is going to be covered by darker trees. So the lighter it is in the background, the more contrast we will get, and the trees will show up a lot brighter. Plus, when we add the lighter colour to the background, so I'm going to add some more white to bring it up, lots of light white to bring up some sunshine in the background there. When we do that, and we're breaking into the colour in the front with this white, so we're pushing down on the edges of this colour in the front here, you get a reverse effect. So instead of painting the darker on the light, we're painting lighter on the dark now and breaking it up, and we're going to do that to the sky and the foliage in the sky later. So this is the beginning of that. Okay, we need some more white in the background there, a lot lighter. So let's add some dots of white here. Pick up the sunshine shining on this field. Right across the top here on the right hand side, and I think on the left hand side here as well. Let's fill in some more white here, because I'm going to put some bushes there which will show us the darker contrast behind or in front of this white field, light field. Right. This bit here of this hill was a bit too high for me, so I'm going to, and you can do this, I'm going to change the size of this hill on the right hand side and extend the field by adding in some lighter colour. Here we're going to start building up our foreground fields now, and because most of this is in shadow, what I'm going to do, shadow under the trees, is start building up these side fields, or the side of the mountain hill area, with darker colours, mainly at the base because this is where the shadow sits, and this will be the shadow under the trees with a few holes in it in the grassy area to show the dappled effect of the leaves. That we'll achieve as we build the colours up. So here we are on the left and right hand side, mainly putting in the shadow areas. And you can see short choppy movements so that you don't get a solid color and you get this variation showing up again, because the grass is it's a varied grass. If you go outside and you have a look at your tree, you'll see the grass is all different colors. Add in a little bit of red. It's an impressionist painting, so you can add your colors in. Pick a color. I like adding in red or a little bit of blue to make the shadows of the green look a little different. It's not black that you add, it's just slightly different colors. An impressionist painting. So here's a bit of red. So adding a little bit of red into the shadow area makes an interesting variation in the grass. And once again, short choppy movements so that we blend it nicely. My darker colours will be across the base of these two little mounds, the hills on either side of the road, because it shows that the mounds go around and down, and it's darker shadow towards the base here. The lighter colours are across the top of the little hillocks, because perspective then shows that it goes around and down, and the darker side becomes the lower side. It's a perspective thing with the eye. So lighter across the top, darker across the bottom. Because we've got trees here which have sun shining through them, I'm going to pick some lighter color up. We've got a lovely variegated palette here now. So I'm going to pick some lighter color up and use that lighter color to make a dappled effect of the sun shining through the trees onto this area of grass here. So a little bit of the green and the yellow and the white, and blobs of this on this darker patch here. As I said, we're building color up. This looks like the sunlight shining through the trees and landing on the grassy area. Do it on this side as well. We're putting the background in first, because once we've put the background in, we can then start putting the trees on top. We won't change the background after that. Always build the background up first. Now I'm going to add some grass in. So let's wash off the brush and put on a lighter color. Make sure that we're not mixing too much color on the brush at this stage. We want to build up some lighter color. So a little bit of white and a few more dabs here to make the sun shine through. And let's move on from here. I've used this palette quite extensively. So in this area here, there's a lot of color mixed here. I'm going to make my browns in this part of the palette, which is red, black, and a little bit of yellow. This brown will be that darker area of the road, which we're going to paint in here. And that is just building up. There's a differentiation between the green and red that we've used for the hill and the shadow on the hill. And now this is the shadow on the road. So that's why we've made it more brown. So I'm putting in odd blobs of this color along the side of the road to give us the shadow of the road, lighter in the middle, as I mentioned earlier. And I'm not following a strong curve, a definite curve. I'm breaking up the edge of the road, because that's what happens. The grass grows down over the edge of the road, so you don't see a definite, unless someone's come and cut it. This is a farm track. Unless someone's specifically come and cut the grass, you're going to have a bitty, edgy road that sinks down in the middle. So this is what we're doing. Building up the side of the road here. As I said before, build up of color. Impressionist is build up of color. Some slightly darker shadow, some lighter shadow. So I've added a little bit of black to this color now, and blending it still on the canvas. Let's wash that brush off and pick up some other color now. Slightly darker color. Just keep your brush hydrated. So add some water in here and there. It's not always about blending the color on the canvas with just a complete build-up on your brush. Clean it off occasionally. Get rid of some of the excess paint. Now, see this brush here? This gives you wonderful grass. It's a dry old brush. I keep a lot of these in my brush palette, my brush tin. If you put grass together with some green and separated bristles and just use short choppy movements of this old dried brush, you get some lovely grass effects. From bottom up, just flick it up and you get this beautiful grass effect. So see how that looks across the top there and across the top here. Just grass. I'm not going to use a lot of that, just a touch. Moving back onto the background brush again. And adding a bit of red, a bit of yellow, a bit of white. It gives me that lighter peachy color again. I'm going to build up the color again on the side of the road here. So it's gone from dark shadow on the very edges of the road to slightly lighter. Remember, we're going to keep the middle of the road lighter to give us this look that the road is going down from the left and going back up to the right. So it's a little bit of a dip in the middle of the road. Take that shadow to the back. You can see the shadow in the front is much darker than the shadow at the back. Again, lighter to the back, darker to the front, giving us this round effect in the road. And as I'm moving my brush, the brush goes, it swings, the movements swing down to the left, down to the right, so you get this movement in the middle of this dip in the middle of the road. I'm going to emphasize the lighter color across the back of the road, so I've added a lot of white to this peachy mix, and that is going to lighten the road as it goes off into the distance, curves around this little hillock and goes off to the left. And then to make it even more emphasized, let's darken the bottom of the field at the back. So take a tiny touch of darker lime and put that across the bottom edge of the field as it hits the road. So once again, like the two hills on either side of the road, this just gives you a little bit of shadow across the bottom of that field, emphasizing the edge of the road. Now, you can either leave it like this, with the colors being just those colors, or let's add some bright purple shadow to the road. Short choppy movements. I've put purple and white together with a tiny touch of blue, and I'm going to make some dappled shadow out of this color. I'm being adventurous with the colors. You don't have to. Your road, if you're happy with the road as it looked before, that's fine. My colors are going to be just a little bit more adventurous. So keeping this round movement of the road, so it's going down to the right, down to the left, down to the right, and giving us a round bowl in the middle of the road. I'm adding in more purple. A lot more water, so I get myself a purple wash. As you add more water to your brush, you get a wash effect, so it goes very lightly on top of the colors. But you don't have to keep it that way. You can be quite adventurous with your colors. So a little bit of white, get myself a dappled sun and shadow effect. The purple is the shadow, the white is the sun shining through on this road. You can be even more adventurous. Let's add some more color. Lots more purple to this, and we get more of a dappled effect. So yeah, stronger purple, add that in. As I said, if you were happy with the road as it was, and you're happy with the colors, and this exciting purple doesn't quite suit your taste, don't do it. But I like to build up a lot of color, so let's add lots more purple now. Let's be even more bold. Blue, purple, let's see what this does on our shadow effect on the road. Alright, let's put some more depth in our picture with some darker purple. And as you see, it's just blobs of color. What makes this painting interesting and exciting is that it's only yours. It's unique to you. Where you put the blobs of color is your choice. You cannot follow what I'm doing exactly because it's too bitty, too blobby. Your choice. It's just the general impression of the colors and where they go that you have to be aware of. So what I have here is blobs of darker and lighter color. Let's put some darker color here towards the edge of the road, some streaks of the darker color here, and yeah, see, my choice. I think I'm going to blend a lot more of the purple in because I like the effect it's giving me. Let's try and mix a little bit of a darker blue. Give me a different color shadow. So wash the brush off, dry it off, and add some blue in there. Different shadow effect. And you don't need a lot. A little touch of this here and there gives me an impression of some shadow. I really don't want a lot because I like the purple look. So I'm going to wash the brush off, add some white to this now, because now that I've got the shadow, let's highlight some areas. So once again, this is where the sun is going to be shining through the trees and dappling light on the road. So we've got some dark areas, some light areas, a little bit more white dapple in here, and at the back here. The tree hangs over the road, so there's definitely going to be shadow and sun shining over this road. And as I say, because I like the bright colours, I've added the purple. You could have just left it as it was and just added some more white dapple area onto the brown or the peachy colour road to start. Right, wash that brush off. I think at this stage, a little bit more light area, so bring some more light into the road. Your choice! See, this is what's so exciting about this picture. It's you choose where to put your colours. Okay, let me think about this one now. Perhaps some more blue and purple in the sky. So let's do a little bit of blue and purple in the sky, see how that looks. Darken some areas, lighten some other areas. Remember, this is the background. I'm not going to touch it again, not these darker areas after I've finished them. I'm going to put the foliage on top. So this will be darker sky behind the foliage. And I'm bringing the purple that I've used down below and the blue that I've used down below back into the picture, so it's a bit more balanced color-wise. That's why you build up the colors over the course of your picture. Now, deep green is what I'm going to be using for the foliage, because once again I start with the shadows. So a deep green, let's mix a green, a little bit of yellow and some black to give me a shadow green, and let's start putting that across the back of the picture. Now remember where we put that foliage. Now it went all across the top of the canvas, and I'm painting across the top of the canvas with sideways movements, backwards and forwards movements, because this is the shadow, the foliage shadow. No detail, just a lot of dark colour. So I'm going to put that in the area that we sketched out originally. Leaving some open areas because the tree has gaps through the leaves where the sky and the backfield will show through. So as you develop this, remember to leave some open areas. And it's just shadow at the moment, so it's mostly the dark, short choppy movements again. And over the top and the sides of the canvas, don't forget that. Keep your colours correct as you go through. It's always harder to add them in when you're finished. Let's put some across the top of the canvas here. because this tree is leaning over the road. That's what we've done the dappled effect of the road shadow for. So let's fill up some of that foliage here. Make this darker across the top. And as you see, I've left some open areas as well, because there will be areas showing through the leaves. And there's a bush on the left hand side as well, a little tree on the left hand side as well. And mixing my colours on the canvas, so not well mixed in the palette itself, just touching a couple of colours on the brush, so that when I get to the palette, when I get to the canvas, I've got some different colours, darker colours, lighter colours, all blended on the brush here. So this is the tree on the left hand side, once again leaving some open gaps where you can see the sky through the background. And while you're building this picture up, you can see where you need to start putting more. Stand back from your canvas for a while and you can see you need some more on the left, more on the right, just to balance the picture out. So I'm putting some more shorter. This is a different tree. The smaller tree that we drew here originally, it's a different tree with little leaves on it. It doesn't have the same kind of leaf effect as the big tree on the right hand side and the slightly smaller tree on the left. It's got shorter movements, sideways movements with the brush. Let's add a bit more shadow on the right hand side. And do we need more shadow? Remember, it's a build up, so the transparency of the paint means that you add layer on layer to build it up. And step back, have a look and see if you need any more. Add some darker areas where you think you might need them. I need some on the left hand side. Because the tree is so dark across the top, now I can see I need more shadow on the grassy patches. So let's add that in. A little bit more shadow here. So while I'm building this picture up, I can see the relative tonal value that needs to change as you build up. It's got to look relatively tonally this uniform across the whole picture. Your eye finds that pleasing. Right, now let's put in where the trunk is going to go. I'm going to do a trunk that comes down in this direction, so it's leaning slightly towards the left, sorry, towards the right, and no trunk is straight. So as I've put the trunk in, I've wiggled the brush to give me some interesting knobs and turns and twists in this trunk, because no trunk is straight. The only rule is it's thinner at the top than it is at the bottom. So when you start your trunk, start at the top, it becomes thinner at the top, thicker to the bottom. Two trees side by side here, close together to give me that foliage, one in the foreground, one in the background, and one more that comes more towards the foreground, so I'm going to make this one thicker, and you can see I'm bending it, so it's an interesting trunk. It's not dead straight. Interesting and leading up into the tree. So you'll see some slightly darker areas of this trunk leading into the tree. I don't think I want any branches off this. The branches go into the foliage. Add some brown into it now. With a touch of red, a little bit more black, and you get a nice brown. So I'm going to put that into my tree, into the trunk of the tree, and you can see there are different levels of the painting. So the one on the far right is closer to me, far on the left is a little bit further, and the one in the distance, a thinner trunk, in the middle. This is my highlight now. So I've added in a little bit of white and yellow to the brown. Haven't washed the brush, I've just added some white and yellow, so I've got a blend of colours again, and that gives me some light on the left hand side of the trunks It's using a thinner brush now. Let's put the trunks in on the left grassy patch, and I need ball control, which is why I've moved to a thinner brush. And these ones will be darker and not going the same direction. Tree trunks don't always grow in the same direction. So I've got 2 trees here, and remember I've got one on this little one here needs a trunk too. Let's make this go leaning over towards the right. Almost like there's too much wind coming in from the left. And it's a smaller tree. Same principles apply, where I'm going to move to the bigger brush now. And I have some areas here I want to bring up from the background. So let's see. Now I've picked up some lighter color. I've got a beautiful mix of palette in my palette now. I've got so many colors to choose from. So now, building up your foliage, the shadow's been laid down. Let's build up the lighter color, the more forward leaves, and they're slightly lighter. And as we did with the grass patches, you can go from really dark shadow area and a slightly lighter color for the middle foliage, and then even lighter for the foliage that is shining with the sun, more towards you, closer to you. So you've got some perspective depth. See this area here? I'm going to make this white. As we did when we broke the field at the back into the foreground and pushed the boundaries of the foreground with lighter color. I'm doing this to the sky. I'm going to break into my foliage now to push the foliage into a sharper shape, using the sky, the lighter color of the sky, to bring out the edges of the foliage. So I did the background, the darker areas of the sky first. Now I'm going to give myself more of a defined hill area using this white, pushing down towards the edge of the hills. If I hadn't done the shadows in the background first, I wouldn't be able to do this light edge breaking into the foliage and pushing the leaves back. Short choppy movements, choose where you want the light to go. Needs a bit more light in this area here, so let's wash that brush off and get some more lighter color. Because the background is wet, I'm picking up darker color as we paint, so you need to keep your brush fairly clean with this if you're adding in light color afterwards. A few smaller drops of light peeking through that foliage. Yeah, a little bit more here. A little bit more showing in the background here. So I'm stepping back, looking at the picture and seeing where I need to add some light. This is my last touches. And maybe a little bit more here, a little bit more showing through there. Do I need any more? A little bit across the hills. Still with white. You can see the blue is showing through because we do have a transparent white. So I still got some blue showing through, but overall the blobs of colour in the build-up give me that depth. I'm going to add some darker colour back into the sky. I think I've moved too much out, so pick up some blue, pick up some purple. Where I think I need a little bit more of the darker colour back in the sky, choose to put it in there. A little bit of blue here. And for that reason, I also think, now I've stepped back, I need to add some more lighter colour to the road. So there could be a bit too much of the darker colour in the road. Let's pick up some of the peachy colour again and add some into the road. Take away some of the purple. Too much purple in the front now. So let's see what happens when we add some of that peachy colour back into the road. Here we go. So it's just going to change the perspective of the road a bit. Take away some of the purple, add some light. That's the advantage. Step back, have a look to see if there's, for me there was a bit too much purple on the road now that I've built up the picture. So a little bit more of the peachy colour back into the road to give me less depth in that purple. More of a lighter road than I had. Darker edges again. It's the build-up. That's why I love this type of painting. Build-up of colour. Step back, have a look to see where you need something, and then go and add it in. I needed a little bit more in that road there. You know what? We need some darker colour. Now that I've done the road, which is going round in the middle, I need some darker colour coming in towards here, and even perhaps some more shadow in the fields. Let's wash the brush off, pick up some darker green, and let's see what that looks like if we add some more shadow across the bottom of the fields. I quite like that, so I think I'm going to leave it there. Last thing left to do is sign your painting. So let me put my signature here on the left hand side, sign my painting. I'm happy with the result. I'm happy with the way it looks, the feel of the colours in the background, the foreground, the light, the shadow. Go and enjoy your painting, everybody. That's what it's all about. See you next time.